Moi aussi, moi aussi.
Don't see any sort of dangers or pitfalls in kind of using, because you mentioned using the ethnic card, and sometimes, that is kind of, how can I say it, there's a lot of temptation to use the ethnic card.
Oh my God, for sure.
For example, as a freelancer, you want to pitch stories, and well, what story am I going to pitch? What will they possibly be interested in? And you're competing with a whole bunch of other journalists, and so you're going to think, how would they think about it? What would they find interesting about me? And that's where the process of elimination, in a way, you start to reduce yourself. It's like, well, I can pitch a story about my community. Maybe they'll be interested. No, because there's a whole bunch of other people pitching these other stories. That's something that I experienced, and something that maybe I want to ask if anybody else has had that experience, and how to, I guess the question would be how to actually balance that, playing the ethnic card to get, let's say, the experience, get the stories, get your voice out there, at the same time present other stories so that's not the only one.
Well, I just wanted to add to that, that is nothing bad on, I don't see anything bad on using that card, that ethnic card, to get through, at the beginning, because you know more about your community, and you know about your culture, and you know about, you do have this information in you. Ça fait partie de toi, ça fait partie de ton essence, ça fait partie de qui tu es. Pourquoi pas l'amener pour dire, ok, ça fait partie de la réalité. Moi, je suis partie de la réalité. Alors, prenez-moi, parce que moi, je connais, j'ai des choses à dire. Et en même temps, comme je fais partie de l'environnement, puis je fais partie de cette réalité, de cette ville, de ce pays, alors je peux aussi parler d'autres choses, par l'entremise peut-être de ma culture et de ma passion pour mes origines, mais je peux aussi parler d'autres choses. Moi, je crois que ça, il n'y a rien de mal, parce que c'est vrai qu'on les connaît davantage. Je peux dire que je connais mieux la communauté mexicaine que la communauté chilienne, mais je peux quand même. Mais tu vois, ça fait partie de moi et ça fait partie de qui je suis dans ces pays.
I think playing the minority card or the race card or the gender card does kind of open up doors, but I think it's harmful in the long run. There's a quote that I love on tokenism that goes something to the effect of just sitting at the table doesn't make you a diner. And I think playing the race card to a certain extent gets you that invitation to the table, but that's more or less where it stops. You're also buying into, you're doing, I mean, I hate to use the word the system because, it's a big monolithic, structure that stays abstract, but you're buying into what the system wants you to do. You are self-marginalizing, right? So it's like, oh, we're not going to work hard at marginalizing you because you're doing that yourself. You're describing yourself first and foremost as an Arab, as a black person, as, whatever the case may be. The other aspect of that is I think it kind of plays into this essentialist notion of culture, that because I'm an Arab, I'm an expert on Arab affairs. I'm not an expert on Arab affairs. I'm an expert on my life experience, which happens to reflect a small subsect of, a larger population that people call Arabs. And so while my experiences might have some, universal threads that people might connect to, I think kind of narrowing it down as being an Arab experience and ruling out other people as being non-experts in, a certain subject matter or whatever. I always point to the fact that Jean-Paul Sartre, who was white, middle class, kind of what we would classify as the oppressor, wrote some of the most poignant literature on anti-colonialism. Right? So, and it works the other way. Just because you're black doesn't mean that, you can pen a treatise on, liberating your country. I think it's a false credential that unfortunately you have to kind of resort to kind of, balance the scales out. But I think it's a stopgap at best.
Just very small comment, because I don't like it when people that are not Mexican are talking about Mexican things too. So you have to find a balance between, you know, playing the ethnic card and just letting others talk about the Mexican stuff. Because I really don't like the way they, or the Hispanic or the Latino or the, you know. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, but at the same time, you have to find a balance. Because if you don't, other people are gonna be talking about things that matter to you and to your community and to your origin.
Yeah, I guess I agree with what you're saying. I think it's also, I also agree with what you're saying. I think it's really the context as to why you're doing it. I mean, and where you're working, right? So I think, and also again, it's what you think your audience is. Because I think the big problem is like, who do you mean by their audience? Do we think we're going to create media for our communities? Are we creating media about our communities for white people? And then the question becomes, well, I want to show my community really nicely to the white people. And it's like, well, because I think that's the problem. I think we need to start talking about, let's make media for our communities. It could be mainstream, but because our communities are watching mainstream TV. But I think we need to sort of shift